If I had £1 for every time I've been asked, what should I charge? I would really be a multimillionaire. In fact, maybe I should do that. Hi, it's Michelle here. And I just wanted to check in with you on this massive issue that comes up all the time with every single client I work with, everybody I have a conversation with about business, particularly freelancers, self-employed, people that don't have an actual business. It comes up mostly, but it comes up in all size. I work with all size businesses and it comes up with all of them. And it's this: what should I charge? And it's such an impossible one. It makes me do that when people ask me. It makes me do that. Oh, no, not this one again. Because it's such an emotive issue. And it's a subject that there's so much shoulding around. And you know what I always say about when you start shoulding all over your business? It's time to really have a rethink. And pricing is one of those things that makes everybody should all over the place. And it's mainly because of comparison. It's mainly because we cannot resist looking around at people we think, we imagine, we perceive are doing a similar thing and looking at what they charge. And it's dangerous, and I'm here to tell you to stop. I call it comparison conjunctivitis, because when you start to do that, it blindsides you. And, I worked in an industry where this was rife. This strategy was rife. I worked in advertising and marketing for 20 odd years. And every time we went to pitch for a piece of business, we would be almost sent on a mission to find out what were the other agencies charging. And in retail business, of course, and online business, this happens a lot, where people go price checking. But if you are a service-led business, like most of my clients are, most of the people watching this are, you're probably a heart-driven entrepreneur as well. You're probably a people helper of some sort. You might be a coach or a mentor, or you're delivering a service of some sort. You're doing something to improve people's lives. Then if you're doing anything other than selling a physical product, then stop with the price checking. Stop with the comparison. Because there isn't one. There just isn't one. And so when people ask me this question, here's what I say. What are you comfortable with charging? What value do you put on yourself? And what are you comfortable charging? And then I get them to do the real homework on what the costs are, because there are costs to everything that we do, whether it's our own time, whether it's traveling, whether it's materials that we need to do the job that we're doing. There are costs attached. But before we get to the practical elements of have you covered your costs and made some money, we look at the mindset of dumping the comparison. And this happened just recently, and it wasn't even with a client, it was with a family member who is a counsellor, and she's worked for the health service for a couple of decades. And now she's got the opportunity to do some private work. And I was her first call to say, I've been offered the chance to do this private work. What should I charge? I've looked at what everybody else is charging, and they're charging X, Y, and Z. And it was a difficult one because it was a family member. But my first question to her was, in your working out, have you covered your costs? She said, yes. Okay. I would normally leave that question to the end, but I know she knows about mindsets. Okay. So what do you feel you are worth? And this is where most people get completely stuck. And I would hasten to add, particularly women, and that's not a sexist comment, that is based on my own experience. I've worked with hundreds of clients, and I do find that women particularly struggle with this, and it is putting value on what you do. As soon as we start to think of it as personal value, we get stuck. So here's a tip on getting past that. And it is to remove yourself and see yourself as you would someone else. See yourself as you would a friend or a family member that was asking you the same question. If you can't even do that, then ask that friend and family member, what value would they put on you? And never be afraid to ask these questions. It's all incredibly valuable. And if you're asking friends and family, free feedback, free research. And then the next question I asked her was, are you comfortable with what you're charging? And she said, well, I don't know what you mean by that. And I said, if I ask you, what are you going to charge me for this piece of work? And you give me a rate, can you say it with confidence? And do you feel like or do you feel like you're undervaluing yourself? Does it make you feel comfortable? For argument's sake, if I said to her, well, I want to come and have a session with you, and she said to me, I'll charge you £75 an hour. Would she feel comfortable delivering that rate to me? Could she say to me, if I said to her, what do you charge by the hour? Could she confidently say to me, I charge £75? Or would she be saying, well, it's my time and I would have to travel and justifying it? Or would she stumble over it? Would she say, well, it's £75 an hour? How would that make you feel if you were on the receiving end of that delivery, of the way that she was telling you what she charges? Would you feel more comfortable if she said, it's £75 an hour? Or would you feel more inclined to work with her if she was nervous and stumbling and quite obviously uncomfortable with what she was saying? So that's what I say to you. There is no comparison. Stop the comparison and think about what you are comfortable with and do the work on what your value is too. This even applies at the top end. So this applies when you are undervaluing and not charging enough, but it also applies, there are plenty of big so-called gurus who claim to be charging, should I say, because that what is and what is perceived to be and what is projected are three completely different things. But there are some so-called gurus who are claiming to charge thousands of pounds a day, thousands of dollars a day. Now, maybe they are, maybe they're not. But if they say it with confidence, you will believe them. And then you'll start to think, well, I do a similar thing to them. Maybe I should be charging thousands of pounds a day. But the question is, are you comfortable charging thousands of pounds a day? I worked with a mentor early on in my business who I spent a whole day with, going through strategy and what I should do with my business and how I should package things and everything. And he didn't really tell me anything that I didn't already know. And I was kind of a little bit irritated by that because I'd paid him a lot of money, right? I had paid him a lot of money. Now, interestingly, I hadn't paid him what he told people he charged for working with him for a day. I hadn't paid him that. So that's interesting, isn't it? The perception and the projection. But I'd paid him a decent amount of money. And we were coming towards the end of the day and he said, how do you think it's gone? And I said, it's great. I think you're great. And I think what you do is great. And everything you've told me has been great. And he looked at me and said, I sense a but. And I said, well, yeah, but I kind of already knew most of that. And he said, yeah, you probably did. And he said, the only difference between you and me, Michelle, is there's an extra 0 or 2 on the end of my invoices. And that really struck me and has never left me. Because that's what it is, isn't it? It's just about he's comfortable putting another 2 noughts on the end of his invoices. And I wasn't. Now I'm more comfortable with charging more now. But it's partly connected to my values and partly just what I'm comfortable with. That means that I won't ever charge what he charges or what he claims to be charging. There is a certain amount that I will never be comfortable with, and it's nothing to do with undervaluing myself. It's just that I've reached a point where I'm comfortable with what I charge. I'm making what I need to make, and I want it to be accessible to a certain point and to a certain amount of people. So that's a calculated decision, if you like. So I just wanted to talk to this because it comes up so much. And I just want to let you know my thoughts on it. Let me know yours. I would love your feedback, and I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.